You who are my comforter in sorrow, my heart is faint within me. Listen to the cry of my people from a land far away. Is the Lord not in Zion? Is her king no longer there? Why have they aroused my anger with their images and their worthless foreign idols? The harvest is past, the summer has ended, and we are not saved. As my people are crushed, I am crushed. I mourn and horror grips me. Is there no balm in Gilead? Is there no physician there? Why then is there no healing for the wound of my people? Oh, that my head were a spring of water and my eyes a fountain of tears. I would weep day and night for the slain of my people. So Ian was here, I think, this past spring and came and talked to the community about refugees and his work with the Anglican United Refugee Alliance. Important work as we think about refugees, the refugees crisis around the world. And so I got to know Ian a little bit over the phone in the last, 4 weeks? We've been back and forth on the phone, Ian, and talking about, interesting statistics that he has about the number of refugees worldwide. It's unbelievable. And even this morning, one of the images that we'll project is a refugee camp, where these people have to live until they're settled. And it's the one that he described to me this morning has more than 300,000 people in the refugee camp. He knew the picture that I found on the internet. He said, yeah, that's 300,000 people. You think of the logistics of feeding them every day, trying to bring in potable water and those sort of things. So Ian, for your work with refugees, your countless hours, your tireless days of making phone calls, talking to politicians, making a better life for so many, we welcome you today to this, our service, and I'm pleased that you're here and able to bring us up to date with what's happening with refugees in Canada and even around the world.
Morning all.
Good morning.
I was really glad to be asked back here because I had a great time whenever it was I was here. I can't keep track of much, but it was this year sometime. So I want to start by telling you something really cool and good, which is amazing in itself. In the year 2018, we don't know 2019 yet, but in the year 2018, Canada brought more refugees to Canada than any other nation in the world, including the United States and many other big countries. So Canada was number one in bringing persons to its shores. Somebody started to clap. You were well advised to do so. Now, we wouldn't be number one, you want to know the truth, if the United States wasn't crazy currently. Because they don't do anything. That's the largest economy in the history of the world, and they're currently doing exactly zero. That's another whole conversation that I don't have time for today. But we were number one. Now, if we feel good that we were number one, in terms of bringing people in, yes, that's true, but it's not nearly enough. That's the bad news of what I have to say this morning. During what was called the big bubble of activity out of Syria, people thought that the whole issue of refugees got solved because thousands and thousands of Syrians, millions of Syrians went somewhere. Truth is that there are more refugees in the world today than there were 5 years ago. There are more refugees in the world now than there were at the end of the Second World War. That's a lot to take in. And the reason there are so many people who are refugees is because we keep doing the same, pardon me for saying it this way, but we keep doing the same dumb things. The world keeps saying, you shouldn't have any rights. The world keeps saying, you should, get shot by us. The world keeps saying, we should be able to continue to bomb your place. The reason that the population grows is because countries around the world continue to do things that create refugees. Because the overwhelming majority of people want to live and raise their families and know their friends and their neighbors in the place that they were born. Very few people are actually genuine migrants that want to go somewhere else. They move on because somebody forces them to do so. So it's an extraordinary thing that what we're really doing when we help persons who are refugees, we are trying to set aside, to put a Band-Aid on the things that happen in the world that create that circumstance. It's an extraordinary thing. Now, I just want to tell you a little bit, I don't want to bore you with a lot of information, but concerning the following. There are refugee camps in Africa where more than 300,000 people live, and many of those 300,000 people only know life in a refugee camp. Nothing else. They were born into it, they're still living in it, and some will die in a refugee camp. And the word camp is misleading because it's not like it's a fun occasion. It's not like going camping somewhere with your friends. All of humanity is virtually lost. You know that in a place called Kakuma, which is in Kenya, it's one of several camps, refugee camps in Kenya, couldn't think of the name. If you live there, you're restricted on the amount of water you can have because you're short of water where the camp is. You get 7 liters of water a day. Now that sounds like a lot because you probably can't drink 7 liters of water, but that's for personal consumption, bathing, cooking, sanitation, all your needs of water. I would invite you when you go home to think about how many liters of water you use a day for your needs. Just taking a shower. I have a sister that probably uses 5,000 liters of water for her morning shower. Something like that. She wouldn't make it. It's a really interesting thing to think about. In that particular camp, even people who are accustomed to the water absolutely must boil everything that they consume. Must. Because even though you're accustomed to it, like if you go to Mexico, you have a problem. They're used to the water, but they have to boil it every day. This just gives you a little insight as to what the circumstance is for people in these genuinely difficult situations. And so, I would say to you, and I would like to suggest to you some of the things that you could do that make a difference in your life, and make a difference in the life of this congregation, and make a difference in the lives of refugees. One of the things clearly you can do is make contribution to the United Church's M&S fund, because that helps refugees and many other persons and organizations in need around the world. That's a simple, easy thing to do. There are refugee committees and groups that are in this area, lots of them. You can join one of those and be helpful on the ground. You can talk about it. There's an election campaign on. We all hear about it every minute. And there is more to talk about than is currently being talked about. It would be worth your while to say to candidates that approach you, what's your policy regarding immigration? What do you do about it? What do you think about it? Because it's one of the areas that is really not properly focused on. I don't have enough time to tell you today, but there are so many misconceptions that are held about immigration and refugee causes particularly, and it's really important that we aid in educating people, because misconceptions are where we get ourselves into trouble. And there are a myriad of misconceptions out there. No question about that. So, I want to tell you a small story. And the reason I want to tell you this is because I think somehow this relates to the scripture that we heard this morning. The scripture this morning talks about, is there a balm in Gilead? You know, a balm is something that makes you feel better. And balm of Gilead is metaphoric for the salvation of Christ and that what Christ provides, a great healing for all things. I think the balm of Gilead originally was something that was a perfume that smelled really good and smelled good enough to make you feel better. If there is a balm of Gilead that stretches the world and reaches all things and all people, I would suggest to you this morning, my friends, that it is you. You are the balm of Gilead. You're exactly what we're looking for and need. You're exactly what will prevent the eyes of the leadership of peoples everywhere from flowing with gigantic amounts of tears like rivers. You're the balm in Gilead. I went, I don't know how many years ago, but quite a few years ago, to Colombia for the United Church. And we went to Bogota, among other places. And I don't know if any of you have been to Bogota, but surrounding Bogota, the city itself, up high in the mountains, there are people who live there. And it's really like a giant gravel pit. And if you're poor or downtrodden in some way, you live up there in the gravel pit. So we went up to the top of the hill, it's like a mountain surrounding Bogota, one morning, and got on a bus. And the idea was that the community up there were all going to go down to City Hall and complain about their circumstance. The bus was, I think, originally yellow, but kind of rusted out, and there were big holes in it. And I got on it, and I thought, I'm never going to make it to the bottom of this mountain. And there were people hanging out the sides on the top of the roof, and it was hot and scary. We were going down roads that went wiggly wobbling. And we got down to the City Hall in Bogota, and a protest was going to be led, and people were banging pots and pans together and demanding all kinds of things from the Bogota mayor. After a while, people came out with guns and water cannons and things like that. And I was thinking, I don't run like I used to. And it was kind of an intimidating moment. After a while, things calmed down, and we got back on the bus, went back up the side of the mountain. Because it was a United Church involved kind of situation, I swear there's somebody everywhere in the United Church that knows how to make a box lunch. Everywhere you go. So we had this lunch break, everybody that went, and you got a sandwich, you know what box lunch is, and a drink of some description. It wasn't Coca-Cola, but something that was native to Colombia, and some sweet thing that I didn't recognize, and so on. All in the box. And everybody got one. Now, there was a little girl that came with us because kids went. One guy tried to load a goat onto the bus, and I'm not sure how that protest would have went with the goat, but that's for another day. There was a little girl that got on the bus, and her name, I think, was Anna, but I'm not sure. And I met her with her grandfather, and they were the only two people left in their family. Grandfather, a guy about my age, and was barely moving, and this little girl, Anna, who was about 6 or 7. Quite interestingly, she spoke a little bit of English, because her and her family had lived in a house that got satellite, and so she watched a bit of English TV, and so knew a few words in English. Then one day, some nasty folks came along with guns and said to Anna's father, "Get out or we'll kill you." And not being flipped, that's exactly what happened. And all that was left was her grandfather and her. And they had to leave land that their family had been on for many generations. And they were now living on top of a gravel pit, and their occupations were recycling. They went to garbage dumps every day and picked out things that they could then sell, pieces of metal and things like that. But Anna was wearing a Bugs Bunny t-shirt. She had Bugs Bunny on her chest, and it was a special day, and she took great pride in telling me that this was Bugs Bunny. So she got on the bus and went down to protest. I don't think she knew what we were doing, but the idea at her age of going for a bus ride is exciting. On the way back, we were sitting in the bus, and she was a young kid. I'm an old Sunday school teacher, so kids come sit on my knee a lot. She came over and sat on my knee, and I noticed she was still carrying the box lunch, or part of it. And what I learned was she was taking the other part of it, the other half, if you will, back for her grandfather. So, I have to tell you what happened. I went to the guy distributing the boxes of lunch, and I said, "You've got 2 or 3 left, buddy. Let me have one for this kid." No. Cost me $40 American for a box lunch. Which is a little crazy, I know, but in third world, everything's about bribery. So I got a box lunch, gave it to Anna, and said, "Now you can finish yours." She finished hers, and with great pride, took her box lunch back to her grandfather. Now, the reason I tell you this story beyond the obvious is as follows. If there had been a way that day that I could have brought that kid on my knee back home with me, I certainly would have done it. There are literally millions upon millions upon millions of Annas in the world for whom you are the balm of Gilead. You are the cure. You are the person that makes Christ alive in this world, in this parish, in your lives, and in the lives of refugees everywhere. It's an extraordinary thing. So, I would only invite you to consider all the ways that you can be a genuine 100% Balm of Gilead here at Kingsway. I think we're supposed to do questions now. God bless you all, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you.